I'm gonna show it to you because it's really shocking, actually. The, Panama City Commission held, a 5.5 hour meeting, um, yesterday, and, during the meeting, they were talking about this, piece of property that the city is when I say the city, I mean 4 commissioners and the city manager who has a tremendous interest in this, and, the only person if you were an alien and you were watching this meeting, and you would say if you didn't know anybody, you didn't know any of the players, you didn't know any of the history, you would say, "Why would a city council wanna do this? Why would a city commission wanna do this?" And I don't know the answer for sure, but I know look, I was told one time by the number 2 at the sheriff's office when I believed that they were cracking down on public corruption, that there's not a contract in this town where there's not kickbacks. Now, during this meeting, the buyers or the sellers rather, the people who own this lot in St. Andrews that the city really wants to buy, their attorney is Dee Dee Rowan, and she went up and spoke. And, she said she gave a different first name. So I'm not positive it's Dee Dee Rowan. Let me hold off on that until I double check that. But I'll tell you this, right after the meeting ended, Josh Street, Commissioner Josh Street, met with Arthur Cullen. Remember, he's the campaign manager for all of the local establishment. He's the guy that one city will tell, okay, go tell that guy that, go tell this guy this. He's the in-between guy. That's one of his jobs in town. So right after the meeting, he's meeting with the dumpster diver, Arthur Cullen. And before this vote, Commissioner Jenna Halligus just got up and left. She got up and walked out. I'll post it at some point, but actually, you might see it. It looks like where I'm going to start this from. She's in the video, so you'll see that she just walks out. She had a meeting. She said that she had to be at an appointment. So I'm going to show you this, but what it's going to start out with is Josh Street, who's about to, as soon as the meeting's over, run over and meet Arthur Cullen and scheme and devise conspiracies. Oh my God. He's going to make some statement about why it's so important to build a parking lot, to buy this lot that was valued by 3 independent appraisers at about $800,000 before the environmental report was issued to the city in July that said there is so much pollution and carcinogens underneath this in the soil that it is seeping into the waters. And the city commission has no interest in cleaning it up. You know, where they live, work, and play. Where we live, work, and play. We love our community. We want to keep our beautiful community. No, you don't. You don't give a flip about any of that. There's no interest by the 4 commissioners at all to clean up this shocking amount of pollution in the soil in this lot in St. Andrews. But the commissioners want to pay an inflated price. They want to pay about $1.2 million for property that was appraised at about $800 before it was confirmed that it was so toxic. How much do you think the sellers could sell it to now? To somebody. But government doesn't care because it's not their money. They don't care about your money. And so you're going to see 4 commissioners who have a 500-page study now. They are on notice, essentially. The city is very aware of this poison in the soil. And they've found a loophole. Well, our legal team says that if all we have to do, like the one business, if we built any other business, we'd have to really clean it up. But if we build a parking lot and just put concrete over the top of it, we don't have any obligation to clean it up. So let's just put a parking lot there. Let's overpay for the property and put a parking lot over the pollution. But that doesn't solve, that doesn't solve the seeping of carcinogens into the water. Your commissioners don't care. Don't believe me? Just watch. All right, I'm going to show it to you right after this. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Saleen, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
All right, we're gonna cut into the meeting at the 4-hour and 36-minute mark, where Josh Street is just trying to explain. They're just trying to help out, buy this property, do something good for the city. Jonathan Hayes had, even before he was a city manager, I think, had come up to the council. He has some sort of interest in this, but let's cut into it. This is amazing.
Fee instead of, that was kind of the long-term goal with that. So besides that parcel,
That's Commissioner Halligus.
the stormwater parcel, I'm assuming Truesdale, but I'm very interested to see what you have to say. But besides that, or how do you feel about all this? I mean, I'm ready to divest.
So what I will say is staff originally came, not to, I won't throw anybody under the bus as to who, but they did talk about, like, do we just want to tear down Truesdale and put a parking lot there? And the answer was like,
was it me?
Absolutely.
For the record.
Not. So, but I did tell them, I said, look, like, if.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a tell. Like in poker, it's called a tell. When somebody, I used to play poker with a guy who beat everybody except me. And it was because every time he got a good hand, see, when they dealt the first cards out, every time he got a really good hand, he would breathe real slowly through his nose. He didn't do that on any other times, but just when he had a good hand, he was nervous. He really, really wanted a good flop. And so that was his tell. I knew he had a strong hand. Here's a tell when you have politicians talking. All right. I'm telling you, this is one. Whenever they say this, Jonathan Hayes just said it. I'm not going to try to rewind it because it's such a long meeting. If I go back, it'll go back like a minute. But Jonathan Hayes said, I said, look, okay. Whenever someone starts out like that, hey, how come Bill did this? And you say, well, I told Bill, I said, look, whenever somebody says, I told him, I said, look, that's a tell. Now, a tell is not 100%. But Jonathan told this unnamed staff member, he said, look,
if you guys can reconfigure things and things like that to get in a few more spaces, I think the community around would use it. I mean, some of the neighbors over there use the Truesdale parking lot too. So I didn't think that was necessarily a big compromise. So Truesdale would still move forward as in the rebuild. It just, the full site plan that we had originally envisioned will probably change a little bit, but I think that's okay. I mean, we're trying to do things that we can afford. And, you know, I mean, part of the reason why we're meeting with the businesses in St. Andrews and having these conversations, because we're, you know, even taking these parcels, you know, there has to be money to develop them to parking. I mean, we just spent $1 million last year on developing parking. So it's expensive. And so we need to, you know, we need to create what process are we going to use to do that.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking getting rid of a lot of those and putting them on the tax rolls, except for the strategic locations of either stormwater or future parking.
Yep.
That's what I'm hoping to do.
And so the 13th Street lot and Chestnut, that one would be one that would go back on the tax rolls. Even potentially a section of the lot that is behind, depending upon what this fully kind of works out with boat parking and those kind of things. The one that's beside where Hunt's and the Chevron gas station is, potentially portion of that.
And the cell tower, I mean.
Cell tower. Yeah, I mean, like nobody's using the cell tower except for those of us that just like the cell signal, which sometimes works. So I think looking at everything, I mean, when I first got presented this, there were a few controversial things like what I just said, knock down Truesdale, and I was like, no, that's not going to happen. But overarching, it's a pretty responsible plan, I think, and there's still steps to go beyond this, but I think it addresses what the commission ultimately was. If we're going to spend something, we need to show that, hey, we're recouping those costs that we're incurring, and that's what the team has attempted to do here.
So, yeah.
My understanding of this property business is that we were going to.
All right, now take notes, because this is the breakdown now. Mayor Rowan is about to break it down. Listen to this.
Find a way to make money to buy the 1128 Chestnut Diesel property. And I'd like you all to know something about that. June 10th of 2022, Saunders Engine and Equipment Company sold the property at 1128 Chestnut Avenue to Chestnut Property Development, LLC. This LLC is made up of Terrell McGee and Laura Wolf of the Wolf Medical family. The purchase price in June 22 was $800,000. The plan, and I understand there was actually some talk down here at City Hall, the plan was to exchange this property for the city parking lot next to the boat ramp in St. Andrews. I've talked to numerous people in St. Andrews. This was a done deal until election of 2023. And at that time, I replaced Greg Brutnicki as mayor of Panama City, Florida, and the deal fell through because I wasn't going to
Watch the body language of some of the council members and Jonathan Hayes, who is third to the right. Watch their body language.
roll over and lay down to get a valuable piece of waterfront property. The saga goes on. Jonathan Hayes, the city manager, came to the Panama City Commission meeting and he asked permission to negotiate the price of this property. He came to the commission meeting and did not.
So I was wrong. It wasn't before he was the city manager. It was after he was the city manager. It was his idea. So as the city manager, he asked the commission this.
Know the asking price. He also said the property was completely clean with a negative phase 1 environmental site assessment. The commission voted 4-1 to allow him to begin a negotiation process, but a phase 2 environmental assessment was to be obtained. Jonathan Hayes then obtained 4 appraisals for the property. Abbott appraisals, $1.2 million. Farrow's valuation, $1.2 million. These were paid for by the seller and were considerably higher than the ones the city purchased. The city obtained 2 appraisals, one from Chandler and Associates at $830,000, and the other from Giles Appraisal, $765,000. Needs to be noted the Abbott appraisal was over 2 years old. Jonathan Hayes, then, as a completely naive investor, he added these 4 appraisals together, divided by 4, and he decided the property was worth $1.011 million, $1,011,000. When our own appraisal, lowest one was $765, 2 years ago, sold for $800,000. Makes me wonder which side is Jonathan on. Is he on the side of the developer or is he on the side of the city? Jonathan Hayes then obtained a grant to pay for a phase 2 environmental study. This study showed TRPH in a concentration above the leachability basis of the SCTL and above the direct exposure residential SCTL in a former AST location site. This is all on the phase 2. In addition, benzo-A anthracene and benzo-A fluoranthene noted they were noted to exceed GCTL levels in the groundwater samples. The flooring and the ceiling were noted to contain asbestos. Recommendations were made for further analysis in addition to the installation of 2 permanent deep monitoring wells, so deep wells to monitor the samples.
Over on the right, look, you've got Jonathan Hayes, the city manager, and the assistant city manager, Jared Bones Jones. All right. He's the one who sent the police when the skeleton bones were found exposed in their graveyard. And so he sent the police to the good people who told the city and told the news about it. Jared Bones Jones. And I forget the lady's name all the way on the right, but you've got the city manager and assistant manager and another important lady over there. I forget her name, but I don't mean to be disrespectful, but she's involved in all of the plan management and finances and all that stuff. So they're over there whisper, oh boy, he's telling everybody about the poison, the pollution that is seeping into the water. That's going to mess up our deal. We're trying to overpay for a piece of polluted property to build a parking lot.
For further analysis. Abatement was also recommended in this phase 2. All 4 of these appraisals, we got 4 appraisals, all 4 of them state that the value of this property is contingent on there being no contamination.
Did you hear that? Put a pin in that. So the appraisals for the property were if the properties were clean. But an environmental study issued to the city in July said it was shockingly polluted. So do you think it's the same value now? I mean, the private owners now, if they have to sell it to another private party, they got to say, yeah, it's completely polluted. But the city doesn't care.
There is extensive contamination, and therefore these 4 appraisals cannot be used until the contamination is cleaned up and resolved. Jonathan Hayes is now bringing it to the commission and trying to get the commission to sell property so they can buy this contaminated site with a cash transaction rather than financing through a lender. We all know a lender would find fault with these appraisals. One was 2 years old, 2 of them are paid by the seller, and every one of them cautioned about their use of contamination, about their use if contamination was present.
Again, I want you to notice the commissioners. All of them, really. You would think they would be saying, man, we got so much pollution that's seeping in, carcinogens seeping into the water in St. Andrews. We should prioritize this. But instead, they are all annoyed with Mayor Rowan for announcing what the environmental study they just got is saying. Look at all of them. None of them, not one of them up there, is concerned about where we live, work, and play. This is amazing.
In an effort to, this is comical, in an effort to spur the negotiations forward, Denise Rowan, the seller's attorney, was present at the last commission meeting. She indicated there was at least one other serious offer on the table if the city was not interested. But she wanted to assure us that the sellers were very devoted to St. Andrews, and they wanted St. Andrews to prosper with this purchase of a prime property. This deal is not above board. It does not pass the smell test. And what the city is trying to do is bail out Terrell McGee and Mrs. Wolf because they've bought a piece of contaminated property that is going to be of no use. If the city had to do anything with this, they would have to abate it, get rid of all the contamination first.
The only thing that can be done without cleaning it up is to cover it up with concrete and make a parking lot. But that, again, that does nothing about the pollution. They're not taking the pollution out of the soil, the tanks out from under the ground. They're just going to cover up the top, overpay for it, put a parking lot there, and tell the community how much they care. Vote for me. Okay, so they're going to correct the mayor and say, no, the one thing we can do is build a parking lot.
This letter came from a concerned citizen, and he has indicated to me that next week he's taking this down to the grand jury, and then he's going to send copies to FDLE, the FBI, the Department of Professional Regulation, the state attorney, and the Bay County Sheriff. And I would have to say I support every one of those recommendations because this is a stinker of a deal, and it's a bailout. It's a bailout to help some rich people, and it's a bailout at taxpayers' expense. So we are taking taxpayer money and we are trying to bail somebody out for a piece of property that's contaminated. It's been shown.
Again, look at the body language of all of them. All of them are so eager to overpay on a lot for the city to buy a private lot way over market value that is contaminated.
Known to be contaminated, and you can bet the neighbors, once they find out the level of contamination here, they're going to start filing class action lawsuits. And so
they really should. Anyone in proximity of that area who has gotten sick, I'm telling you, you have a major lawsuit against the city now, because the city is well aware of the level of carcinogens and pollution, and they are moving forward, always moving forward, like Chairman Mao. They're moving ahead. They're just so eager to overpay somebody and get this land so they don't have to deal with it anymore. The city knows, and they're doing nothing to remediate the environmental danger to the community. Anyone who is sick in that area should all band together and file a lawsuit against the city, because the city knows and is doing nothing to clean it up.
We don't need to be in the middle of this thing whatsoever. We are supposed to have a due diligence period, which is probably already over. But as far as I'm concerned, we do not need to buy this. We can tone down our enthusiasm, have a shot of whiskey or something, whatever it takes to calm down, and then tell McGee and Wolf, good luck, and we'll see you later. We've got property in town, in St. Andrews that's very valuable, and it's not contaminated. So there I am, and if this goes forward, I smell problems. I don't have any intention of supporting purchase of this land, and I don't know if any of you up here would like to, knowing what you know, if you would like to purchase it and you would like to be part of a grand jury investigation. Would anyone like to make a comment?
I think the notion
Josh Street.
That there's something improprietary. I mean, I appreciate it.
Here we go. He's going to feign the victim. The idea, like Biden says, the idea, the very notion. Here's the gaslighting high ground. The idea that there could be any impropriety, Mayor, is just unacceptable. Look, watch this.
You're such concern, Mr. Mayor, over that issue. But I would welcome any investigation into anything, because you say a lot of things a lot of times up here. You infer on our citizens that are just everyday citizens and just business owners that they're doing something impropriety.
Wow. You infer, the right word would have been, you insinuate that the citizens are doing something wrong. No, we're insinuating that you guys are crooks, Josh. We are saying that it makes no effing sense to overpay for a lot of polluted land. That's what we're saying. The finger's pointing at you, Jack, not the citizens. This guy is an unbelievable gaslighter. Remember, he leaves here right after the meeting and meets with Arthur Scumbag Dumpster Diver Cullen right away to begin scheming and pivoting.
No idea. You say this property is contaminated, but if you actually talk to experts, which I did after.
Oh my God. They just got a 500-page study that said how polluted it is. He's Joe Biden. Josh Street is Joe Biden. except a younger version. Actually, Joe Biden was much more direct. Josh is passive aggressive. He always does that. You know, the idea. I welcome an investigation. If only. If only. Oh my gosh. I talked to the experts. Really? How much did they get paid?
For it, just said, hey, what's needed here?
Oh, there, he did it again. He did it again. Remember, I told you the tell when you say, hey, and you say, well, I talked to Bill, and I go, I talked to Bill, and I said, I talked to Bill, and I said, hey, he just did it again. Man, that is such a tell. It is. I talked to the experts, and they said, hey, I talked to the experts, and they said, look.
To utilize it for what the city utilizes it for, any commercial usage, you know what you have to do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. For residential use, yes, there's further things they wanted to be explored.
Understand that there is carcinogens in the soil that is right now seeping into the water. And Josh Street is arguing as though that's not happening. Well, we don't have to do that if we put a parking lot over it. Nobody up there is concerned at all. I'm telling you, if you're sick in St. Andrew, you guys should band together. They have the report, and it's shocking.
But we have no intention of putting a residential property there at a diesel site. To the contamination, it's 800 square feet of asbestos tile. Most of our houses that were built here locally include
He's leaving out all the other stuff. He's only touching on one of the findings.
in the Cove and in St. Andrews have asbestos siding around them. Very similar product.
Cut down a lot.
And
Excuse me.
it is something that is easily remediated, and even hiring a remediation firm, which I had a conversation to see, hey, what would this really cost?
He did it again. Always listen for this in your personal life or with politicians. I talked to a remediation company, and they said, hey, whenever someone does that, that is a tell. Doesn't mean for sure they're lying, but it means you might want to trust but verify.
$3,000 to fully go through the disposal process. However, a property owner at that level could dispose of it themselves. So I think that, you know, I get that you're not in support of it. Be not in support of it. But calling people's character and making up all sorts of different stories with that and saying there's grand jury investigations going to come from it, that's not helpful to government process. And frankly, it's disrespectful to the citizens that work here every day and the people that you serve with. So I get that you're not in support of it.
Remember, this is the guy who wanted to pour. He is the great, what did I call him? Shoot, I forgot his own nickname. He's the one that wanted to bring out the boiling oil with all of his crazy ass accusations against Mayor Rowan. Josh Street is the guy who makes false accusations against people. God, man, this guy's special. He is really, I mean, there's a few of these guys, but he's in a class of, he's at the top of the gaslighting class.
Don't be
the Grand Inquisitor. Thank you, Ms. Sarah.
in support of it.
And
That's
John.
fine. I mean, if the commission chooses not to do it, that's okay. But don't rake people's character and their integrity through the mud in that process.
Wow.
Like, have some substantial evidence if that's the case.
God, how does somebody do that? I mean, that's amazing that he can do that. Wow.
Not just hearsay, what someone sent you in an email or something like that, because that's just not right. And it's not the way that I conduct myself. And I would hope that as the mayor of our city, that you would conduct yourself a little differently as well.
I have receipts for everything that I just read to you.
Okay.
And you speak like a good buddy of Terrell McGee, who you were trying to help bail out. And this is crazy. They paid $800,000. Yep. It's contaminated. It certainly is not worth $800,000. Not even close. Once the city buys it and covers it covers it with concrete or something like that, we'll never be able to do anything with it. So the consideration that this is $800,000 worth when you've already offered $1,011,000. You know, this is a bailout. It's a bailout for rich people in St. Andrews, and I stand by everything I said, and that's the way it is. And I hope the grand jury does investigate it, because I think it stinks. It doesn't pass the smell test. What we've done is wrong. We don't need to do it any further. I don't think, I would like to ask Mr. Zimmerman, have we purchased this yet?
We have not purchased this. There is an amendment that was done that I will ask you to ratify, but
This is the attorney. The city hires Burke and Blue law firm for 4 times the amount of money that they could hire their own city attorney. They hire Mike Burke, the very powerful lawyer that, quite frankly, I embarrassed the other day at the planning board meeting because he was lying. It's not that he's way smarter than me. Trust me. If we ever debated and he was acting in good faith, he would destroy me. The guy's a master. I'm not joking. The reason that he looked so foolish was because he knew he was lying by omission. And I knew. But he hires this old attorney, Zimmerman, puts him up there and tells Zimmerman what to say.
change the due diligence date and the purchase date to September 18th. So September 18th would be the end of the due diligence period. I think the $20,000 was
Next
put
week.
up as and then you have an opportunity to terminate it prior to the end of the due diligence date, and you'd receive that money back. In just to make it convenient, the date is for closing and the due diligence date is both September 18th. Mr. Hayes had the authority to just extend that date. That was the only thing that was done. And but I'd ask you to ratify that, and then also indicate, that you will go ahead and purchase it if that's your desire. If that's not the desire of the commission, then I'd ask you to terminate the contract. Accept the amendment and then terminate the contract.
Very good. Well, thank you. Anybody else want to talk about this?
I have a question.
This is Commissioner Jenna Halligus.
So is that what we were voting on today? I thought this was more like, are we going to divest of all things, of these few things, of all that? Because there's also property that we're sitting on doing nothing with. And we have no intention. It's better use as a commercial, sell it to somebody else, put that money back into our coffers. So that was one of the things, right? Then the other thing was, especially the cell tower. What is that, like 600K or something like that?
700
Are we going to agree to just sell that? Who cares?
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so there was that. Then I know that the long-term plan is the parking lot. Just so you know, the only reason I'm not against the contamination. It doesn't scare me as much maybe as other people, because I have dealt a lot of that contamination. When you say asbestos and stuff, that once that's mitigated, it's done, it's gone.
That is only one finding. Jeez, Commissioner Halligus. Wow. If you read the study, 500 pages, and a lot of people have, you know that it's much worse than that. There's a lot more. I cannot believe what I can, because of the amount of corruption in this town, this whole damn area. But it's incredible.
And it's not like you're digging in the soil
And by the way, she's going to leave before this vote. She's going to get up and just walk out.
or do anything like that. You are right, though. A commercial is different than just like a single house. I can pretty much do. It's not a big deal, but like a commercial, it's obviously for safety reasons, it's a little bit different. But the thing is that you say, as a city, do we want to see a contaminated piece of property there for whenever? Or is our vision like, hey, we need more parking. There isn't a better use.
Oh, she just did it too. Here's our vision. Hey, we need, I'm telling you, it's a tell. Whenever I hear somebody do that, my first thought is more than likely they're not arguing in good faith. I know Commissioner Halligus, and I would think that she would care about pollution that's too dangerous for a house, that it would also be too dangerous to just pave over and allow the carcinogens to continue to seep into the water. Instead, a commission that gives a damn would be doing all they could to clean that area up. I would even support getting grants for once and help the private property owners to remediate, dig out the tanks, clean up the whole place so that the community stops being poisoned. I would support that. And I think anyone who gives a damn would.
For that, because it is contaminated. I'm not saying the price is right. I'm not even arguing all that. I was just making a point that for me, I like to entertain it because it is contaminated, because I know that they couldn't sell it to commercial and develop like a mixed use or do something like that. So what could we do? What could we do with it? But on the flip side of that though, Mayor, I really would, because we were talking about public record earlier. Do you mind sharing with us, with Jan, those documents? Because if you think, I mean, if I'm serious, if you have evidence that someone is doing something nefarious or illegal, like
100%.
I mean, I feel like
Those are public records. The mayor read that letter. Now it is the name of the citizen. The email is a public record. There's no question about it.
you owe it to us, because I'm sitting
Of
here voting
course.
on something that I believe I trust and is ethical. And if you do have some substantial evidence,
Actually, she won't be voting. She's going to walk out.
you think that I would like for you to give that to
Of
Jan, so we
course.
could all have that for public.
Don't
record.
just say it unless you've got it. And I agree. I would love to see that
Because
as
I don't
well.
want to vote on keeping something and then you have something in your back pocket that I don't know about, I mean, then I wasn't able to make a decision based on.
It's a public record. Everybody will have it.
data.
Do you think it was a smart decision to average 4 different appraisals together to give us one? Is that how you buy houses? I would imagine that you go with the lowest possible bid. So I think that's a matter of investigation. I think quite clearly. He came to the meeting, Mr. Hayes came to the meeting, and I've asked him on email a couple times. He didn't have any idea what the purchase price is. This is all about bailing out McGee. Listen, we don't need that property. Let him go sell it to somebody else and see what it's worth. Or get a realtor, put it on the contract. Let Denise Rowan sell it to the other person. She says she's got another bid. We don't need to worry about protecting him. But what I read, I consider stuff that this person.
By the way, that's Mayor Doc Rowan. He is a doctor. He's a specialist. He's a retired orthopedic surgeon. He's the only scientist, literally the only scientist on the board.
Person wrote me a letter, said he's going to send it to the grand jury. Seems reasonable to me, but I've told you, I believe everything I know. So I'm not holding anything back.
Yeah.
And
I just want you to share it with us.
Yeah.
no, I
I'm
want to, but I don't think there is
It is a public
absolutely no reason that
Mayor, that is a public record for sure. It is a letter given to you that you read during the meeting, and it is absolutely a public record. So if you watch the show, just make sure everybody gets that immediately, including the public. Absolutely, no question, not an issue.
that the city needs to get involved in a contaminated piece of property. Our job is not to bail out McGee and Wolf. Let them go bail themselves out. They bought this property with the idea of dumping it on the city, and I got in their way, and maybe I'm not going to secede, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's terrible.
So Mayor, to Commissioner Halligus's point, do you have the information, or is it the person who sent you the letter who has the information? Because again, I share the same concern that she does, that if there's information that we need to have in order to make the best.
The information is in the 500-page environmental report that the city received in July.
Decision for the city, I'd like to have that information.
You've got
as
it.
opposed to being threatened with a gotcha.
Every bit of this information that I've seen here has passed through the commission here.
That's right.
We've come through with meetings.
Exactly.
We've talked about a lot of this stuff. The LLC is easily found online. So I don't know if, I don't think there's anything more, and I'll be happy to, when they give it to the grand jury, I'll be happy to give it to you. But
Well,
I
things are
have
public
no-
record now.
I have no smoking gun other than what this person formulated and wrote and sent to me and said he was going to do. So I'm not hiding anything else, but I do feel it's crazy. This thing, the appraisals say that if it's contaminated, the appraisals are no good. One of the appraisals is old. The seller's appraisals are over 1.1 million. The city looked at it at 700,000 and 800,000.
I mean, these are all facts. And all of them are acting as though the appraisals are good after the contamination was confirmed in a study commissioned by the city, received in July. They're all up there putting on a theater. What do you mean, what information? That.
Awesome. Big difference. And there's nothing, as you all have said, there's nothing else which it looks like you could do with this land. I don't see anything else you could do with it. That's not our problem. We don't own it, and we don't need to own it.
That's right.
So we can look at other things if we want.
To clarify, Mr. Mayor, that we have a process that we go through for property acquisition. And I believe part of that process is the seller has the opportunity to go get competing appraisals. Like that is part of the process that we followed for, I don't know how long. I mean, is that not part of the process?
Yes, the process that we follow is that the city gets, if it's over $500,000, the city gets 2 appraisals. The city would then consider any appraisals that the seller has. If the city desires to pay more than the average of the 2 appraisals that the city had, then it requires a 4/5 vote of the city commission. And that was brought to this commission, and it was considered, and this commission considered the 4 appraisals that were there and approved the purchase price of $1 million.
Did they have the phase 2 environmental report available when that vote was taken?
Absolutely not as far as phase 2, because in that contract, there was a long due diligence period. And at any time during that long due diligence period, the city commission has the authority to cancel the contract. So the price was established. It was $1 million. And then at some point, and that point is coming up on September 18th, it asks you to ratify that date. Then the city commission can cancel the contract and receive back the $20,000, or the city commission can close on the property.
Okay. That helps understand.
That's the process of how the price came from. But yes, there was a due diligence period.
I see.
One
I-
more
I
point
do
of
have
clarification. I just have one more point of clarification that I'll yield is
Okay.
the phase 2 showed that commercial activity is unlimited. And there was nothing that was required to continue usage as commercial uses as historically has been done.
I don't think it said that in the appraisal.
So here is where Commissioner Jenahaligas dips out. I mean, this is 5 hours into the meeting, and I would have left probably, an hour before this. I mean, I would die if I had to sit through a meeting longer than 45 minutes. But watch Commissioner Halligas. She's just no announcement. She's out of here.
It did not say that on that report. On the phase 2 report, it didn't say that. Ms. Halligas, are you gone?
Gone. No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Adios.
Retiring early. No, I am so sorry. I have an appointment that I have to get.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm so sorry.
Appreciate it. No,
All right, we're going to find out what happens after Commissioner Halligas punched out of the meeting right after this.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
So right after the show, I am going to send out my weekly Corruption Watch email. And if you want to subscribe to the email so that you never miss a show, never miss a Facebook post, all you got to do is just go to this place right here. It's free. Bernie.substack.com. Put your email in there and you will receive a weekly email and you'll never miss a show. You'll never miss a Facebook post. Bernie.substack.com. It is free and it takes like 20 seconds. There's also, and I used to say this, a way for you to support my efforts for $8 a month or $80 a year. And some of you were nice enough to do that for nothing, just to say, go Bernie, go. But now, if you get a paid subscription, you're going to get at least once per week a behind the scenes video. And I promise that'll be worth $8 a month. Get a paid subscription at bernie.substack.com. And now you will get behind the scene videos emailed to your inbox, and you're liable to see just about anything. Ah! Get out! Get out! Go get out, keep that. What's going on? So I've got less than 2 days to get it all together. I'm nervous because I've never done anything like this before. Nighttime and hot. Another red light. Yellow flies. Okay, he's dead.
Seems might like hell, don't they?
Yes, that's what they are. They're very. They're like the great whites of the insect world.
Right on my arm.
Right on my arm. All right. So again, if you want to do that, bernie.substack.com. The email will go out. You got time to subscribe right after the show.
What were we talking about? No, the phase two. It doesn't say on that phase two evaluation that what you can and can't do. I think one of the obvious problems here is this came to this commission via Jonathan Hayes telling us he had a clean phase one. He was ready to buy it. He was ready to go out and write the check.
Wow.
That's not right. And I don't think everybody knew how contaminated it was. I don't think everybody knew that there's no other use for this piece of property. And the idea that even paying $800,000 is, some of you guys like to spend money like it's the government money. I like to spend money like it's my own. And I would not even come close to considering anything like this. It doesn't pass the smell test. And it just is not, it's about bailing out rich people is all what this is about. And I want to make that very clear. I think I've done that.
So question I have, Mayor, is in reference to the findings from phase two. And what I thought I heard earlier was that there are limitations in what could be done with this property commercially. And the best use of it with the limited mitigation would be what the city is planning for it. So does that in fact change or offer a reason to lower the sales price from $1 million to the appraised value that we got?
If you want to act like you're spending your own.
Do you see what's happening? Actually, the commissioners are negotiating for the buyers, for the sellers. Now that the big giant environmental study comes out and says the property is so contaminated, right? The appraisals that they got before no longer apply because that was if it was clean. And so now you've got commissioners saying, well, what if we just give them the 800,000 then? What if we just buy it for 800,000? The commissioners are negotiating, not trying to clean up the pollution that's poisoning the community. They are now negotiating for the sellers of the private property.
Money, you don't even want to consider spending $700,000 or $800,000. There's nothing else they can do with this thing. When they paid 800,000, they paid too much money.
So to your point, Mayor, as someone sitting to look out for the best interest of the city, if the best use of that parcel is a parking area and the city and that community is in need of parking, then I'm open to considering it at a lesser price than what we talked about before. So that's why I'm asking the
See, here's the fundamental question, really, and the mayor's going to get to it. Why is it the government's job? Why is that the proper role of government? For the government to supply parking lots? Parking spaces, paid parking spaces, can be a very profitable business. And it is a private endeavor. It should be. I mean, is local government supposed to do everything? I mean, it's insane, man. And the mayor's going to get to that.
question for information.
I think that's a great question, and I appreciate it, and I'm not trying to necessarily pick on you, but if that's such a great deal, why doesn't McGee go build a parking lot and charge parking there?
Ding, ding, ding.
I'm asking
Well, that's
for
what-
information that I need to make a decision.
That's my feeling is if this is such a wonderful price, let them go do it. Or you want to ask Jonathan, or are you asking,
I'm asking someone there, the lawyer.
other than me?
Who can answer that question, yes.
The question, could you ask it again? I'm sorry.
So in light
Look at that empty chair. Commissioner Halligan's got the hell out of there.
of the phase 2 findings, that
Yes.
Talk about grand juries and stuff. She's out.
there is limited use that the current owners could have commercially with this particular piece of property.
Yes.
I think that devalues
Oh,
what
okay.
we've said we would consider paying for it, and can we lower it, what we'll pay to the
It's amazing. She's
price of
negotiating for the seller.
appraisal that we received.
The city commission you're in the due diligence period. You can go back and say, well, in light of the phase 2 environmental assessments, we do not believe we can support a $1 million purchase price, but we would offer X, or how much are you willing to come down off of it? You can negotiate on the price today if you want to.
That's what
If you
she's doing.
don't come to an agreement on the price, you then cancel the contract prior to September 18th.
All right. So I'm going to end it there. What ends up happening is it goes on and on. What ends up happening is Commissioner Brian Granger recommends tabling it, taking the rest of the week or so, getting more information, and then deciding whether or not to cancel the contract or to negotiate a lower price. I think that you've seen that the commission has no interest in doing the right thing. Instead, they are going to just proceed with poisoning the community by putting concrete over this soiled, polluted soil that is seeping carcinogens into the waters around St. Andrews. There is no interest. You would think any place where somebody's a government body's acting in good faith, my God, that would be top priority. We got to clean this up. Top priority, especially if a bunch of citizens who live or have lived in proximity to this unbelievable polluted lot of land, the what do they call it? The Chestnut Diesel property. If they banded together, if they got sick, this is like one of those gigantic pollution stories you hear across the country, like a Superfund site or whatever these things are called. I mean, if you are sick in that area and the city has no interest in cleaning it up, you got the biggest lawsuit I could ever imagine around here. Right? So they've put it off. I believe they have a meeting next week, I think on Wednesday or something. And like I say, right after that meeting, Josh Street, Commissioner Hallius left, but Josh Street left, got in his car, raced over and met with Arthur Cullen to begin scheming about how they're going to deal with this issue. And it certainly won't be to protect the citizens. That's great. Right. Oh, sorry. That's not the I was. This one here's what I said. I mean, this is amazing. All right. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. To be continued. This is shocker. But I do want to thank, of course, those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar, and it's called it's called. Can you tell I need to go home? Crowdfunding, right? Those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar and say thank you for as little as $5 a month. It matters. I couldn't do this without those of you who do. Thank you, patrons. Thank you. And you can do so at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's easy. It's anonymous. And you can quit at any time. And of course, thank you to the Unknown Patriot for your support of my efforts to bring the truth. And with that, I will see you soon.